Welcome to this week's episode of the Nerd Chatter Podcast, where two nerds sit down and chit chat about nerd news that we find throughout the week. I'm joined by my good buddy Garrett. My friend, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Not bad, not bad. Missed you last
Good.
week.
Yeah, as everybody knows now, I'm going to be running an esports program for a local organization, and it's going to take up a lot of time. But I'm I'm grateful that you can continue the podcast when I'm not able to join you. So it'll be good.
Yeah, I got lucky with at least somebody that can spare a couple Saturdays a month to talk to me. It's a little
Yeah.
rough when you're talking by yourself and you're like, it's a different pace, different tone, and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
we're gonna have you back whenever we can. We'll try to like actually schedule stuff, especially when like big stuff like like right now, Andor season finale. Some season premiere. There's
Yeah.
Mando. There's all kinds of stuff. There's Marvel stuff that's gonna be coming out, and we're gonna be talking about Andor and some Marvel content today. But first and foremost, I typically go through the free games and heavily discounted games that I run across throughout the week. This one's actually fairly big in the discount category because we do have the Steam Autumn Sale, but the big one, and I mentioned it last week, Star Wars Squadrons is free on the Epic Game Store until December 1st. I'm sure that we can both agree that's pretty epic.
Yes, it is well worth it. I mean, even if it was still $40, I would say buy it.
Yeah.
It is a great game. Don't expect it to be like a full AAA title
Yeah.
with, a full story. It really doesn't have that. It does what it does really well, like extremely well. So
Yeah.
highly recommended.
Yeah, I mean it is what it is. It's a space fighter. It's a
Yeah.
ride in the cockpit, get that feeling, of space battles, and you can be a bomber, you can be X-wing zipping around and dogfighting and all that stuff. But it's got to be one of the best Star Wars games like squeezed out in
Yeah.
the last like 10, 15 years. I mean, I'm obviously we're talking about like top 10 by that point because there's so many, but. Definite recommendation from both of us on that one. Epic Game Store until December 1st. Like I mentioned, we have the Steam Autumn Sale, and that's going on until the 29th. I think it started on the 22nd.
Nice.
But I'm going to kind of rattle these off. There's a couple dozen, and I'll throw in the percentage at the end there, like how much it's off. But Star Wars Skywalker Saga is 50% off. Jurassic Park Evolution is 60% off. Black Desert Online is 90% off. It's 99 cents. I mean, I've gotten a lot of mileage out of Black Desert, and a buck
Yeah.
is nothing. Need for Speed Heat is 80% off. Red Dead Online is 50. Chivalry 2 is also 50. That's a recommendation on my part. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 is 85% off. I mean, if you've played the first one, you've basically played the second one. I'm sure there's people out there that would get triggered by me saying that, but it basically felt the same. Cyberpunk 2077 is 50% off. Satisfactory is 40% off, which is crazy. Typically, we've never seen that game lower than $20, but it's like $17 right now, so our cup runneth over. FIFA 23, 40% off. 2K, NBA 2K23 is 55% off.
Ooh.
I'm not sure, is it because typically we pick it up when it's like $20, right? That was
Yeah,
our thing.
we've picked up the old ones when they hit about $20, and we
Yeah.
just go ham.
Yeah, we go crazy. PGA 2K23 is 35% off. Horizon Zero Dawn is 60% off. No Man's Sky is 50% off. Halo Master Chief Collection is 60. Sea of Thieves is 50. Dying Light 2 is 50. Witcher 3 Game of the Year is 80% off. Halo Infinite, the campaign, is 50. Doom Eternal 75. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 85% off. Far Cry 5 is 80% off. Arma 3 is 75% off. What up? Star Wars Battlefront 2 is 85% off. So like chump change on that, and I'm sure we
Yeah.
both thoroughly recommend that one as well.
And Fallen Order, that's another good one.
Fallen Order, yeah. I mean, if you have like Game Pass, like Xbox Game Pass, even just
Is
for
it on there
PC,
right now?
Yeah, like all these Star Wars games are on there.
Okay, nice.
Battlefront, Fallen Order, not Skywalker Saga, obviously, because it's Lego, but all the juicy ones. Even Squadrons is on there.
Very good.
There's other games to mention too: Battlefield 2042, Plague Tale, Untitled Goose Game, City Skyline, Rainbow Six Siege, and like hundreds more. So bring up your Steam, check some of the stuff out, and if you heard any deals, take advantage because they're pretty juicy. Typically, these sales lately in the last like few years haven't been impressing me at all. But there's some juicy stuff going on in this one, so I do recommend till the 29th on that one. Like I said, we're going to talk about Andor. We're going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special. I haven't put together a roundup because it's kind of the same old stuff. Twitter Twitter news has been kind of dying down a little bit. You got little tidbits here and there, and there's some other things that I'll bring up our Twitter and kind of scan through to see at the end of the show. But really, I think the big thing was the Andor season finale. That's the one of two seasons, and then Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which we'll talk after that. But Andor, where are we at on that? What do you think?
I mean, okay. I think I said this on the podcast before when it was first announced. I was like, why would they do that? Yeah. I mean, Cassian was a good character in Rogue One. I liked Rogue One, but it was just like, why would they have a show all about him?
Yeah.
And now I'm like, this is the thing that I didn't know I needed, but that I needed really bad. And I mean the writing, the acting, the visuals have all been on point. Yeah. Obviously, it's not like, we haven't got any, crazy. Well, we did get a crazy space battle, actually.
Yeah, we got a couple juicy.
But it wasn't, two massive fleets going at each other like we've seen in the last several
the
iterations,
explosions and lasers and the just craziness that's going on.
Yeah, but as a whole, Andor is probably the best Star Wars that we've gotten since the original trilogy. Like, hot take.
Yeah.
Like,
it shouldn't be a hot take, to be honest. We'll talk about that after this, but it's like, this is quality. Even just for a TV show in general, this is quality,
Yeah, I was at my in-laws for Thanksgiving, and I was, some of them had not watched Andor yet, and I was just like, okay, so you guys all like Mando. Like, Mando is great, and it's a great content, but, you have a lot of cameos, you have a lot of member berries coming in, and it's good for, like, what you envision a action-packed Star Wars show to be, right?
Yeah.
So it's satisfying. Andor is just, it's so much more intense. It's, when there's not action, it's all really meaningful, leading up to something really awesome. And the climaxes in the episode arcs are just so well done. Yeah. I cannot speak highly enough of this show.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it, like I said, in a little bit, the opinions circulating online, but really when it comes down to Andor as a show, it's just like solid, right? Like it understands that the end result of this story has already been told, so they don't need to get hung up on introducing these pivotal characters and like all the background information for them and where they're, what their journey is, and when you already know like where he's going, what he's gonna do, and you're just kind of looking at how they're like building it together. So right, like you have a different angle to come at it, and if I can see how people's opinions can vary based on whether or not they liked like Rogue One. Like I wasn't a fan of Rogue One just because it felt, it kind of felt like a dud. And if somebody has those opinions and they just kind of associate that with the show, then you would go in with that predetermined notion that it's going to be the same, or if you're expecting it to be some Mando cameo overload, then it's like, well, of course you should see everybody, you should see all these people and see all these other storylines, like where's Vader, or like he's around, what's going on with Palpy and blah blah blah. It's like, all right, dude, like just chill out for a second. Like these are short. I'm gonna say short. They're not short, obviously. I think what's the runtime for an episode? Like 50 minutes or 40 minutes or something?
I think the shortest, there's only been one under 40 minutes.
So we're talking short stories essentially, and they're, like we said before, they're told in 3 parts, and then you got people formulating opinions after only watching like the first 2 episodes. It's like you didn't even finish the first like little lump of episodes that you're supposed to watch, and like after those 3. Once you get like this world building aspect, established, then it turns into something else, and I'm not gonna start comparing, apples to oranges here, but like Breaking Bad in that sense where it's a slow burn, it's gradually kind of cranking up the heat, and like over the time of watching this story unfold, like it gets more amped up, and that's kind of how this show was, and just in general, it's very impressive in regards to pulling out emotion and drama and all this stuff in a world that's typically known for just run and gun and swinging laser swords and that type of thing, space battles.
Yeah.
What did you think of the finale though in particular?
I mean, okay, so the whole finale, it was a really solid build up, because I mean the last arc was only 2 episodes, right?
Yeah.
And it was just everything had led up to this moment, and there was the funeral, or Marva's funeral, and that was so well done. I mean, they had that suspense of they're marching through the town, the Empire's like freaking out because they only gave them a permit for 40 people or something like that, and
Yeah.
the whole town is coming and they're playing, there's the drums and the little instruments that they have, and it's just so suspenseful. And
Yeah. I mean, I remember the music too, like the instruments and stuff like that. It's like
Yeah.
when they were warming up their instruments, I was like, oh God, is it going to be some like space music that's like horrible? It's like, it's not, there's no tune or anything, but they were obviously just warming it up. So like the music
Yeah.
was nice once they started playing, but I got a little scared there for a second.
I think Andor has shown better than any other content outside of the original trilogy how scary the Empire actually is.
Yeah.
Because, like in the original trilogy, we have the Empire scary on like a mythological huge level. We have the Death Star, and we have these mythological beings, and Darth Vader, the Emperor, and Luke Skywalker, duking it out, and that huge battle between good and evil. And this has been like on a much more personal level that we are seeing faces of people of the Empire.
Yeah.
The day-to-day ISB person, and not the head of the ISB or anything like that. And I don't know if you notice, almost all of the troop, like the Imperial troops that we see until the last episode, are normal Imperial foot soldiers and not stormtroopers.
Yeah.
So you see their faces, and I mean, we see a couple stormtroopers in the last episode, and I mean, when Obi-Wan Kenobi says that Imperial stormtroopers are really precise, and then we don't see that in the whole original trilogy. I mean, the heroes have the plot armor, and we don't see that here. I mean, there's the dude that is on like what looks to be like a 50 caliber big laser gun, is just mowing people down. Like,
he's hitting.
Boom, boom.
He's also
boom.
missing. They were missing too, and I was looking for it too. I was like, they're still gonna miss, and they were missing, but it was more of like 20%. They were still taking people out like constantly.
Yeah, and it was so it was good to, I mean, relatively good to see the Empire like so scary. So I think that's a really good thing that this show has done, is it's brought the Empire to a personal level and not just a nebulous,
out there, just a
large
entity.
level.
Yeah, this definitely feels more. I mean, obviously, the inspiration for the Empire originally with George Lucas was like the Nazi Party, right? So this is more of like this is like the early, before the war type, I won't say world building, but just kind of that period of time, like in Germany, essentially.
Yeah.
Where the Nazis were taking over like their own country first, and you just get that vibe. Like obviously they're widespread and they got their fingers in every bit of business out there, but it's like you get that feeling that it's like they are a little bit more intimidating because they're not opposed in any way, they're sitting pretty. And then you see in like the New Hope or A New Hope that there's kind of just like an established empire, and that they're just there. And that's kind of the vibe you get, which is kind of how these contractors operate with like the Palpy and the empire as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to be interesting if when they bring in Thrawn. I mean, they're going to bring in Thrawn, obviously, right?
I don't know if they're going to bring in Thrawn on this. Um, the timing would be right for Thrawn to exist, but I think he, at least from other canon material, he's off dealing with the rebels from the show Rebels, so the Lothal rebel units, and doing other Outer Rim patrols. So we might see that, but I mean, we know Thrawn is going to be in the Ahsoka show, so he might just be like a member berry that they bring in season 2 as like some side person where he's not a Grand Admiral yet or something like that. But it would honestly surprise me if they bring him in. However, some logical people for next season, I think that they'll bring in is I think we will see Palpatine from a distance in the Senate chamber, but we won't see him up close. And that will be like him bringing his full power into the Senate, and like that will be like one of the final things Mon Mothma like does before she dips.
Yeah. I mean, Rogue One just has that reference, just with they're mining Kyber, aren't they?
Yeah, they're mining Kyber.
I mean, there might be some type of. I mean, they're doing it for the Death Star, correct? Like they're
oh
doing
yeah,
it
that's
yeah.
yeah.
And we did see that. Spoilers, you and I talked about it like a month before, or whatever, and I called it. It's like it's got to lead up to like a Death Star cameo. Like these things have to be a part of the Death Star, and not just the Death Star. It's got to be the weapon, right? It's like that's the symbology. Is Andor himself was being forced to make the weapon that kills him in the end,
Yeah. Well, in just so if people aren't following along, we're specifically talking about the little like hex looking things that they build in the prison on Narkina 5.
Yeah, and there was speculation online like, oh, it's what is it, K2SO?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way it could
or be his arms. And I was like, no, dude. It's like it doesn't look like. There's no way.
And my hypothesis, it was either some type of hyperdrive unit for the Death Star or Star Destroyers, and you were practically spot on. You sent me a picture of the inside of the like the laser chamber of the Death Star, and he was like, "It's this," and I was like, "I don't know."
I didn't say it was this. I was like, I'm trying to find in this picture where those pieces are, because it has to be this. Like, and then my other backup was another popular theory out there was that it would be like, I don't know, the middle section of a probe droid, and that's what they're manufacturing. But it was like, I think it's got to hit a little harder than that, right? And there's you got to think of it from like a bougie writing perspective, and it would really be that whole like he was helping create what killed him, that whole just roundabout idea.
Yeah, and it ended up being like the little connector units for all of the dishes that build up the main like solar dish that help aim the lasers.
I mean, the original design of, obviously the prop that was used to film the Death Star was not detailed enough to where you would see something like that. So, they probably just pulled that out of thin air. Like, oh, well, we'll just make some mundane shape and then we'll use it to kind of like just, we'll make that part of what creates the dish, I thought that imagery was really cool where it was being assembled and kind of like lowered in and stuff like that. Me personally though, like I kind of thought I had to go rewatch it, but I don't know, that season finale, it was like maybe top 5 episodes of the season. It wasn't like the best. And I was hoping that it would be, because typically, a show that's doing it right, the season finale is like the hardest of the episodes, but I think I'm not going to speak for everybody, but that prison break scene was like, that whole episode was pretty.
I think
sick.
I think that is the peak of the season. It's so great. Like we have these guys pulling together, and we see Kino Loy change and like become this badass dude. And then at the very end of that episode, it's it is heart wrenching.
Yeah, you don't know what happened, but. His acting, Andy Serkis is
he's
like
a boss,
a true G, just in acting in general. And I was rewatching the Batman, which I still recommend. His his performance in that is, I mean, I don't like him as an Alfred. Like, I just don't think he matches anything that Alfred is supposed to be. But him as like a character and just how he's written and the way he speaks, it's really good. You know what I mean? And then you see him here, and it's a completely different vibe. But you get a lot from just kind of like the character breakdown over those episodes, and then him, you know, essentially when he responds with how many guards and that type of thing. You know, he's been thinking about that. You know, it's not a new thought in his head. He's always thought about, you know, what it would take. Although he stayed in line, like, you know. So I like the development of that character just in the season in general. He's probably like my favorite part of the show. Luthen is also a super good character. What do you think about that starfight? That ship, the ship fight with the, what was that ship that came in? I know it's an actual ship in Star Wars lore, right?
His ship specifically?
No, the Imperial.
Oh yeah. That the one with the big like satellite dishes.
Yeah,
on
the
it.
dishes.
So that was actually it had not been officially put into canon. However, it was one of the initial drawings for Star Destroyers, like way back in the day.
I know it has like a your typical, your typical Star Wars name.
It's a Cantwell class Star Destroyer.
A what?
Cantwell class Star Destroyer. Yeah, and Cantwell was the name of the artist that created the art for that.
Oh, that made that the concept.
Yeah,
super cool. I like the whole just releasing it looked like just needles, you know. I mean,
yeah, but I mean they were moving.
I mean, that's the tractor beam, you know, like that. I guess.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody at one point would have thought, like, if you really wanted to, like, you know, damage it, wouldn't the tractor beam be like a perfect way to just like, but then you get the whole sci-fi mindset where it's like, well, they probably got, you know, ways around that. But in this particular case, it's just an exposed satellite at the front of the ship, you know, and it's like, oh yeah, those things are gonna just melt that thing, and sure enough, it did. And I like the 30-second space, you know, battle that went on between the four. I guess it was 2 bombers and 2 TIE fighters, it looked like. Or
yeah, there may have been 3 TIE fighters.
Yeah, and then 1 bomber I saw. But
yeah,
it's it was clean. It was just, it's exactly what you needed. It wasn't too much. The suspense and the way that vibe was feeling when he's sitting in the cockpit and he's flipping switches and all that, you know?
Yeah.
You just got that feeling that it's like, oh, shit's about to go down, dude.
Yeah. Well, then... I don't know if you realize this, but at the beginning of the show, when Cassian first gets on that ship, and he's like, "This has you know, whatever hyperdrive in it," and I was like, "I've never been on one of these with this type of hyperdrive," and Luthen was like, "You know, expect surprises," and I am almost positive that ship is powered by Kyber.
Oh,
and that would also explain the big ol' lasers that are just like lightsaber-esque that come out of the side of that ship and just rip those 2 TIE fighters straight apart.
Couldn't he have just done a super amount of damage to like the undercarriage of the interceptor, you know, like
probably
just absolutely chop that thing in half, but he did it to meticulously and perfectly hit those TIE fighters. I was like, it's like, I don't know, maybe if like 3 lasers came out, you know, and they were kind of like spread out, then it'd be a little bit more believable. Well, like, I don't think he's that good.
Well, I don't think he's that good, but I think the ship's that good. I don't know if you like. So it had the ship has that little. It looks like
the AI.
It looks like it has an AI built into it as well.
Yeah.
So that if the I mean, it would essentially be a droid just built into it. But if the droid was putting in those specific calculations, that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't know. I just thought that whole, and then just the feeling you get of him standing there in the, on the deck, just staring at nothingness. Well, I guess it was a beautiful view of a planet, but it's just gone. The ship is gone. Like what just happened? And obviously that's the buy that they were going for and all that, but the way it was delivered was like satisfying.
Yeah.
So I really dug that. I don't know. Like I said, I don't consider the finale to be like the best episode of the series so far, which is always a bummer. It's not the first time I've had that happen with the show, obviously.
But in like I was saying, I think it was satisfying. It obviously wasn't the best episode. I think the prison break was the best. However, I think it was still satisfying for the season finale.
Yeah, it was enough, and
Yeah.
it kind of it left me like mellowed. It didn't have that like. You always got the cliffhanger aspect of these multi-season shows and series and stuff like that, where they want to make sure that you come back.
Yeah.
The cliffhanger with Mando season 1, was it season 1 or 2?
2.
Yeah, was pretty. It was pretty strong. You know what I mean? Like it was you definitely wanted to see what was going to happen next, and like they kind of blew that when they jammed him into Boba Fett. But
Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, it's like you gotta, it's like, okay, it's over, fine, I know now, I know. It's
Yeah.
like, but you want that feeling to carry over into the next season and then have it unfold in your show.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to. But yeah, I mean, we're spinning our wheels on this. I mean, obviously we think it's good, and we want people to watch it. I think ideally we were going to speak mostly about the stupid ass opinions online that are circulating about this show.
Yes.
I think overall, though, I mean, if you haven't seen the first season, you should. And if you saw the season finale, let us know what you think in the comments. That'd be interesting. But really, you got some very weird and lazy opinions floating around out there. What do you got to say about some of that business?
Yeah, so there's a small handful of YouTubers out there, content creators, whatever, that have very specific opinions on Andor. They had a live stream
bricks and
together.
Screws and shit. It's just bricks and screws.
I want to
That's
talk
what
about
he's talking about.
I want to talk about the first one a couple weeks ago. So this one of these particular dudes said that he wasn't liking Andor, and that he'd rather get a General Grievous show.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's right.
Yeah, and it was just like, are you kidding me? Like,
what are you doing with yourself? Like, what is
and
that?
he wanted it to be a detective show with General Grievous being the detective, and it was just like, how does that make sense? That there is no possible way that anyone except like 2 people want that.
and then you see a slew of people in the comments like justifying it and be like, no, it could totally be done, with good writing and blah blah blah. Then they show like pictures of like the race before he was all jacked up and stuff, and like they could totally do something like this or something like this and have like a Native American type like swing on it, and they could do this and they could do this, and it'd be like, oh my god, what is going on right now? Who oh dude, this is why social media was a mistake, like for real.
Yeah. Well, and I jokingly sent to you the General Grievous is only good for one thing, and that's the meme where this is the fine addition to my collection as he's grabbing a lightsaber. Yeah. Like literally, that's like the only thing he's good for is memes.
It wasn't intended to be some like super deep character. It was something that George put into the movie to push the plot and put our heroes somewhere. Doing something, fighting someone, and that's all that needed to happen. Because the point of it was to save Palpy, and once that was done, then they could.
And it couldn't be Dooku anymore.
Yeah, I mean, literally, it couldn't be Dooku anymore. So I mean, they just needed to move on, and Grievous is not the solution to Star Wars' issues. Like
no,
the issue that Star Wars has is that it's written itself into a corner. To where it was having a difficult time expanding outside of the Skywalker saga. So the solution to that is to do things just enough different, little by little, to where you can get a little bit of wiggle space, and actually be able to tell different stories. Because, I mean, you deprive people of the laser swords and pew cannons, and then 5 years from now they're jumping back to the old Republic, and then it's tenfold what you're used to.
Yeah,
the crazy like lightsaber battles, like the real good stuff, but as of right now, to tell different stories and get people's minds out of that traditional Star Wars mindset is to have something like this, where it's a suspenseful, slow burn, where you don't need to speculate on where the story will end. You can simply just sit there and enjoy, this drama. Really,
Yeah.
there very few. I mean, yeah, there's obviously we had a lot of pew cannons going off in that season finale for sure, but really, it's like the characters, the dialogue, the same thing that this one of these individuals mentioned in a more recent, I guess it was his series finale review, which seemed to be like the laziest thing I've ever heard. It was so. What was it? He was talking about how everything about the show is great except the fact that the guns look like real guns, and there were bricks in the show or some shit. Right?
Yeah. Well, so let's just talk about this. All Star Wars guns have been modeled after real guns with some additional tweaks, which is exactly what they did in Andor. Yeah, and it is what it is. And the key part here is it's Star Wars. They did update it, and honestly, who cares if it looks exactly like an AK-74?
People that need like small things to bitch about, the ones that are the loudest on social media and just like won't shut up. Those people, those are the ones.
Well, in just in general, like this dude, I mean, he's just like nitpicking stuff, and then like you're getting or starting to allude to in his final review was like, yeah, I don't think bricks should be in Star Wars, and I saw screws somewhere, and it threw me out of the moment, so I don't like it. And it was just like, earlier, a couple weeks ago, the dude was like, I don't like Andor at all. I think the writing sucks. I think everything sucks about the show. And then he was like, I like the writing. I like the acting. And now he like flipped a switch, and he's like, but I can't like it because there's bricks and there's screws.
I heard some speculation as to just because he was with the other guy, like it was like some paired up podcast, whatever.
Yeah, they do a specific podcast together. Well, it's YouTube show or whatever, and the one that is not specifically a Star Wars dude has he has crazy opinions.
He was the one with the dude flip-flops. He was the one with the Grievous idea, right?
Yes, he was the Grievous idea dude. But he flip-flops on stuff all of the time. Like I used to total transparency here. I used to subscribe to both of their YouTube channels, and when the sequels were coming out, at first they both talked crap about the Last Jedi, and then Return, or the whatever Skywalker it is, Rise of Skywalker, and then they've both changed their tunes.
Yeah,
and it was just like, okay, you flip flopped on that, now you flip flopped on Andor, but in a weird way, and it's just like, keep your story straight. Like, it's okay to have different opinions, and it's okay to not like something, and you just say, hey, this wasn't for me. Cool.
Yeah, this wasn't for me. However, I can appreciate yada, 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 yada.
Exactly.
So here's my thing, and we talked about it before the show, is like, you're under the slight impression that like the guy's just like lost it or something, and he doesn't know what he's even like saying anymore.
Yeah,
my opinion is that he's your typical content creator who has cornered himself. He does not like Star Wars anymore. He just doesn't, and it's derived from something that is outside of the films, and the original films in particular. I think this particular YouTube, if you want to know who we're talking about, we're not gonna say the names because it's just like we can get shit on by thousands of people. But
I'm sure
just type in Star Wars bricks and screws, and
you'll see the memes and you'll figure it out.
No, they'll take you right to the video that we're talking about. It's all that you need to see, and really you could tell that the opinions are coming from somebody who genuinely does not like what they do anymore. I know that at one point this person had like a short film that they were making, some fanfic, and I mean, I think I did actually at one point, but he got swatted by Disney because of course, like they don't care if you're the biggest fan, like you're not putting that out. Welcome to the real world. Hello, like just get off of it. Just because you're a super fan and you think you're entitled to this or that, like you're not just going to be given what you want. So he's been really pouty ever since. And as a content creator, I think he flipped at that point to where he went more vindictive, and it's like, okay, well then I'm going to give my real opinions, and his real opinions are actually a little bit more anal than they really need to be. You know what I mean? And it really comes down to the fact that he just truly does not like Star Wars or the people that are running Star Wars now.
Yeah.
And
Well,
me, it's like, I just didn't like the fact that they teed up this ball, like it was easiest hit in Star Wars history, and they hand it to somebody who, it's a kid who just wanted to, like I think the analogy we did on our Patreon thing was like, it's just that kid that likes to rip off the arms and legs and heads of your toys and then swap them with other bodies and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they're done with it, they just leave them there and run off to go do something else, and you're left there with the mess. That was Rian Johnson with The Last Jedi. So it was like, like that's why I didn't like it. The third film was like a joke. And then it was over, and then Mando came out. It's like, all right. And then Boba came out. It's like, all right, dude, like, all right, chill out. And then this comes out to where it's like, okay, so we're hit and miss, but Andor in itself it's all practical effects. There's a little bit of CGI, but just what you need.
Yeah. And they did use the volume for I think it was very select few
1 or 2 days I think they spent there, like in total or something. And it's certain things like the cockpit and like the some of the stuff where you need to put people in this grand expansive area and can't build that set physically because it would just be crazy.
Yep. But the other thing I think with this particular YouTuber, when the season finale for Mandalorian season 2 came out, and I think this is when, shortly after this is when I unsubscribed from both of their channels. He live streamed his like first watch through of that, and he like blubber cried the whole way through, which is fine.
It
like
isn't.
that
I hate
that
it.
Well,
it really
okay.
isn't. Grow up, bro. Like, Jesus, just stop.
I'm just saying, like,
if you're getting that emotional, then your opinion is going to be skewed too easily, because all it takes is a fucking brick to completely ruin your opinion on it, because it didn't make you cry. It didn't make you draw out these deep emotions and thoughts about this and this and this. It's like, it is a show. It is a product of a storyteller and artist who wants to tell you a story. So sit there and just appreciate the story being told, Like, I think that when these people...
What I'm saying, though, is... it is okay to have emotions when you watch something.
Yeah, you can shed a tear.
Like that is the point of like a lot of filmmaking and storytelling, is to have people feel emotions.
True.
And
but
however,
it's not based on beautiful storytelling and imagery and a message that the director or writer wanted to get to that viewer. He's blubbering like a baby because pew cannons, lightsabers, and Luke Skywalker, like, oh my god, like Red One, like, like it's all this, it's member-berry bullshit that completely brings up all these emotions. It's not based on anything genuine. It's literally like childish. You know what I mean?
So
I just think that the person's headspace is in it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
By this point, they don't like Star Wars. They like the money they get from the YouTube channel that they're forced to make, because literally cannot make anything else. And
that their YouTube channel is
resentment.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's when it stemmed from is in that end of 2020, because all of his content went from mostly positive and with like actual criticism to slowly going off the deep end to where he's at now, complaining about bricks and screws and not having a General Grievous show.
Completely lazy. Like, you watch it and it's just so lazy. It's like, just go to sleep, bro. Just turn off your stream and go to sleep. Like, just get some rest. Come back the next day with some enthusiasm. It's a joke. So I mean, my opinion is the guy just just hang it up, dude. Like, if you don't like Star Wars anymore, then don't have a Star Wars YouTube channel. Like, it's just that simple. If you want to complain about it, then make that your image, but don't try to feign this fanhood for something that you loathe. That's really where it's at. And I'm gonna leave it there too. I don't want to dwell on it, but you guys can check out the video. Not going to post in the description, but all you can do is Google Star Wars bricks and screws, and you'll see some of the stupidest discussion that you can possibly get about some of the best Star Wars that we've gotten in decades. And that's true, that is genuine. Like, Mando's in there, it doesn't mean that it's the only good thing that we've gotten since the OT, but really truly it's handled with care and like respect, and it should be appreciated and shown respect, and to dismiss it and all the hard work and effort just because you got your personal hangups is like completely stupid, dude. And I'm super judgy about Star Wars. Can we agree?
Yeah. I mean, you're definitely super judgy.
Yeah, and, like they got some work to do to like get me impressed.
Oh, totally. And here's the thing: everybody's entitled to their own personal thoughts and feelings, and like that's just how people need to be. However, if you're going to be stupid about it and just say stupid crap all the time just to stay stupid crap, like just say it wasn't for me and move on. Like,
yeah, you're lining yourself up for a whole lot of cannon fodder when it comes to just having a channel that is supposed to be about loving and appreciating Star Wars and everything Star Wars, and then completely dumping on something that took this much effort and time and talent to just have content. By that point, it's like, all right, dude, give it a rest. So we'll leave it there. Like we said, do your due diligence, but it's pretty embarrassing. If you haven't seen Andor, 100%, don't listen to anybody's opinion. Just watch it, sit through it. Like it's a half hour to an hour, the episodes. If you can, watch them in 3 parts. And then just get through it and see what you think by the end of it. And it might make you want to go see Rogue One again, like it did me. So the next one on here, Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. We'll talk about this briefly because we are running a little bit late. Probably edit it down a little bit. But, I watched it last night, or yesterday actually, with the wife while the baby was napping. And then again this morning while I was preparing for the show. You watched it with your wife, right?
Yeah, I watched it last night with my wife. It was, talk about another solid hit for Marvel.
Mm-hmm. The special presentations are doing well.
Yes. I don't know what they're doing differently for these. If they're just like allowing themselves to do fun or weird things, but I am totally down with them continuing that pattern.
Yeah. I mean, on our Halloween special, we talked about Werewolf by Night and his place in the MCU, and what it could be, and just in Marvel in general, and who he rubs shoulders with in the comics, and these other smaller stories. It's like, I love Cosmo, right? I think everybody loves Cosmo. I love Cosmo. They made changes and stuff like that, and this one in particular takes place, I think, after they drop off Thor in Love and Thunder. Like, once they dip, like that's where they go. So like that's where the story picks up, and then it's going to be between there and Guardians 3 when that pops up. And with this, I mean, what do they bought Nowhere, right? I think that's what they said.
Yeah.
They bought Nowhere from the collector.
Yeah,
They had to repair it, and so they own that now, which is interesting. So it allows for a confined set. So what it was is a very confined set, like a backlot type of set, and there's a lot of people commenting on how cheap it looked and yada yada. And it's like, I think you're using what you can, and you're not trying to blow out the budget. I know that they filmed this. It was written well before, any of like the Werewolf by Night or anything like that. It's people are trying to speculate on like spoilers for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and then James Gunn responding, because he does that a lot on Twitter. Like, no, this was written like years before Wakanda Forever, so no spoilers. And people are like, what do the end credit scene mean? And he's like, just funny, like just a joke, But at the same time, the line in there in particular is like, oh, we got to do another special. But he has explicitly said Guardians 3 is the last thing he's going to do. Yeah. With, I mean, he can't. He's in a 4-year lockdown with DC, so. Guardians 3 is literally the last thing he can do for Marvel, but he also threw in that it would be a different crew if anything were to happen. So you are going to have the finale for all these characters, but it was a passion project, and there's rumors out there that there was a Christmas special that Ryan Reynolds had done with Deadpool as well. So in the future you might get something like that.
He has the story built for that. He's publicly said that and that he wants to do it with Marvel.
Yeah, I mean that would be
forward.
funny. That'd be so
that would
funny.
be great.
Yeah, I think in general though, like, what do you think about the holiday special?
I thought I didn't know what I was getting in for. I just my wife was kind of hesitant at first, and I was like, "Well, it's a special presentation, like Werewolf by Night was," and she's like, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." And I think she was thinking it was like, "Okay, this is gonna be like Star Wars holiday special and just be really dumb and hokey and like almost unwatchable." But we literally just had a good time watching it. We laughed practically the whole time. There's just I love Drax humor, and like Drax was on point the whole time.
Mantis finally getting some screen time and dialogue.
Yeah.
So,
Like in the banter between them was really good. I think was it last night I said that it was funny and just really well paced, and I woke up feeling that like
it was like a nice confined little tight story. It's like you go from, and you think that there would be more story to tell, but no, it jumps straight to the party starting. So they cut all the fat out, and they just kind of went for the meat. And I think that was the highlight of that movie, was the fact that Mantis got kind of front row and center and pulled it off very well. No hidden imagery, no hidden Easter eggs. I mean, you got Cosmo, which is an Easter egg pull from previous Guardian movies. Locked up. It was a different dog, but locked up in the chambers or whatever, and one of the collector's prizes. But Cosmo is a character from the comic books. It's a cosmonaut dog that gets lost in space and is like hyper intelligent. I forget what the backstory is about making or receiving the voice box, but did it kind of sound like they changed the voice, because you'd have this brooding Russian, hello comrade, like that type of voice for Cosmo typically, but this was kind of like, couldn't tell if it was female or male. You couldn't tell how old.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
It definitely was like an old voice. It was, I don't know,
young, very young. It was
younger.
either a young or a female voice, and which is fine, but at the same time, it was kind of like giggly, and you don't get that. He was somewhat of kind of like a menacing dog character, where it's like you're supposed to get that like, oh, look it's a cute little dog, and then it's like a rocket raccoon type of deal, which I also found to be like the funniest line in there, where Kevin Bacon pops out and he's like, "Relax, buddy, we're not gonna hurt you." And then he's like, "That's a talking raccoon." He's like, "I'll kill you!" He like lunges at him like he's about to rip him to shreds. Like, just that type of humor. It's very James Gunn. I think in general, for me though, with the show, I appreciate it. It's gonna be like like everybody says online, it's gonna be one of those like every year. Right now, I got a new movie. Solid as always. James Gunn, just appreciating music and what it does for tone and the setting, so thoroughly recommend it on my part. I can't really consider anything negative about it, to be honest. It's funnier than your typical Marvel anything, but at the same time, it has a lot of emotion too in there, not trying to be all corny, but there's a lot of sentimentality going on with the characters. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's the thing with James Gunn, is he understands whatever assignment is given to him, and that's what I'm getting from this, is that when he moves to DC, to your Snyderverse, doom and gloomers, this is an atrocity. This is so far from what they want for DC. But then you look at like Brightburn, I think that's the name of the movie. He made that with his brothers and stuff, but he has an appreciation for a wide variety of genres and methods of storytelling, and you got to understand that all these songs and stuff that they're cramming into DC that make it feel really weird. Black Adam was the worst. Oh my God. Black Adam was super bad when it came to like choosing the wrong songs. We know about with Suicide Squad, they did that. They're doing all of that because of James Gunn and like what he did. They wanted to rip off that style. But now they don't have to. They got him to actually do it themselves, and they're going to be a lot more well-rounded in terms of the storytelling. You're gonna have the music hitting on point. You're gonna have the humor being like, just where what it needs to be. He knows that it's not a Marvel product, and when you're applying this type of humor to like Superman or whatever, it's gonna have to be situational. It's gonna have to be specific and kind of used sparingly, and I think he's going to be able to do that. So I just see James Gunn as a director, somebody who is adaptable, and understands that you can't just take your own personal brush and slather everything in it, like a Tim Burton, or like a Zack Snyder, or like a Michael Bay. You can't just be that same director. If you are, you got to be like, I forget what his name is, but your Spider-Man director, the one where you don't care who directs. It's just a director for hire who gets a job done and does it well. And you're not distracted by camera angles and slow motion and bad music selection and all this other crap that is a byproduct of trying to steal somebody else's style. So they have James Gunn. I'm super confident that he's going to know what to do with DC, and personally, the more I see of just stuff that he makes is reassuring, and it gets me stoked for like what those films are going to be. So that's my opinion. And one thing that I was going to say, I was surprised with all the Christmas imagery. It's like you don't see that very often at all. Like, and something big like this, it was like, oh. Like they did Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays at the end of this film. And up until now, it's felt like that's been kind of demonized. Like it can't be like a big budget deal. It has to be some like Hallmark special that you dump, that by specifically targeting Christmas, you're neglecting other like religions and stuff. But, I'm not Catholic. I didn't come out of there Catholic or religious. But I still appreciate the imagery and the respect that's associated with it. You can't, there's a reason that you're celebrating this holiday. And if you're not going to, you're just going to pass out gifts and not care, then that's one thing. But I like to see that Christmas imagery in media and stuff like that. So I was impressed with kind of the balls with James Gunn on that one, to be honest, because typically you get flack, and the reaction has been pretty non-existent towards that whole deal. So hopefully we get more Christmas movies again, actual Christmas movies.
Yeah, and just on that vein, I'm all for getting all of the other flavors of like holiday season, holiday movies and stuff. But you're right, it was nice to have that because it's been neglected for all of the reasons for so long. To have Marvel come out and do a Christmas movie it was nice.
I mean, I knew it was good when my wife, because she was like laying kind of with like turned away from the TV and was like on her phone and stuff, and then within like 5 minutes or whatever, she had relocated to actually facing the TV and watching it. So I was like, oh, okay, so it's good. And it was the same thing, laughing and all the jokes and gags and stuff like that, and you kind of go into it expecting like that's what it's going to be, and it was. So good stuff. Do recommend it. Do you recommend it?
Oh yeah, that's an easy, it's a 45-minute watch where it's just fun.
Yeah, it's just a fun watch.
Yeah, if people are anti-Christmas, it may be a pass, but at least give it a shot.
Yeah, they're aliens. They don't even know what Christmas is. It's literally the song. They're doing it because it makes somebody happy. And that's really why you celebrate it to begin with, right?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like just sharing the love, and it's not about the gifts. That's why Groot's handing out sculptures, just like me, by the way. I do that same thing. A little more different. They're a little different. The quality comes out a little different, but I feel that same way, where it's like that's tenfold the gift because of how much time, effort, and just there's like love there when you're crafting something with your hands for somebody specifically, and it's different, it's a whole different vibe. So give it a shot.
Agree.
If you don't like Christmas, then whatever, man. You like Guardians, because it's some of the best like Guardians writing that's been done in a while.
Well, and just I want to say this. Groot is looking pretty swole.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of it actually. He kind of looks just
I
like
wasn't.
somebody in a suit. You know what I mean? Like I'd see him at
He definitely
Disneyland.
looked like that, but it was just like we're getting what we expect from Groot soon.
Yeah,
Like he's
yeah,
building back up. He's not just this little itty twig anymore.
yeah. He's all yoked. He'll stretch out into his elder Groot stage, but yeah. I mean, it's a small, confined, tight story. Kevin Bacon is good. The music is super good, and like we said, it's super short. So definitely got to give it a shot.
Yeah.
Don't have a roundup here, but I'm scrolling through our Discord. Bob Iger's back. I mean, that's probably another one that we should have talked about, but
Well,
Chapek is gone.
Did you see the news on that came out yesterday?
You talking about the Apple thing?
No. So Chapek, is it Chapek, right?
Yeah.
He shifted stuff around to hide losses from Disney Plus.
Oh, really?
That's why he got fired.
I could see that. Yeah.
And I mean, Bob Iger was like, "Yeah, we are going to have losses with Disney Plus while we are building it." And
Especially when they had, because I took advantage of the 3-year deal when it first came
yeah.
out, where it was like $7 a month or something like that, and it's going to change. It's going to double. So there's going to be changes. Bob Iger, I think the big deal is though is that Chepik wasn't just messing around with Disney Plus and all that. He was like legitimately shitting on the parks and the cast members.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of issues. He's not really a people
and on
person.
animation too.
Animation as well. Well, he was talking about how adults don't want to watch animation, and that if they're gonna go to Disney Plus, they want to watch adult content. And it's like, what are you talking about?
I literally like, okay, just my Star Warsness here. Star Wars Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, and Star Wars The Bad Batch are all animated and all extremely great.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know a single kid that actually like sits down and watches all of those.
No.
It's all adults.
And there's adult stories too, and at the same time,
Yeah.
I got Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, Mickey Mouse Funhouse, Little Einsteins, and all this other shit running through my house. Like, not constantly, because it's bad for him, but like we got that streaming as well. It's not just it's not just the adults watching it here. I'm forced to lay there and watch like Little Einsteins. It's like, it is what it is. It know your audience and then take advantage. I mean, there's certain things that they went into Disney Plus that kind of bit them in the butt. However, the point is that Bob Iger is a people person. He respects the right people. He's completely responsible for all of the MCU, period.
Yeah.
He was there from the beginning. He was the one in charge, and it wasn't very long after he got picked up. I think he got picked up in like the late 90s or like very early 2000s or what have you. So I mean, not like less than a decade before MCU dropped. So I mean, he was in there in the thick of it, and he's also responsible for the acquisition of Star Wars, Fox. Like, this big moves made by Iger that has turned Disney into like a juggernaut.
Yeah.
Chapek was just trying to fumble his way through what's going on. It's ironic too. I was at Disney World a few weeks ago, and he was there, and my brother-in-law was helping set up one of the shows because he's like an AV guy, and they bring in cast member, like they brought in Goofy and Donald, and like they do whatever they do on the show and stuff like that. But like Chepik came in and was talking to whatever the investors or what have you and all that, and then like dipped. So I mean, like physically there, and like it's just ironic, weeks later this dude is gone. He's been there forever too. He's been there for quite a while in a different role, but now I think he's just like gone.
Yeah, he's gone. Well, and I mean, they just re-upped his contract too, and he got a huge signing bonus.
He got
not too long ago. Like, so I mean, for him, like, he just got a wad of cash, and now he's dipping.
Yeah.
Well, he's not dipping. He got canned, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did get like a severance though, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yeah.
It's good news depending on how you want to look at it. I heard murmurs of the potential of Apple buying, or a company big enough to buy Disney potentially buying Disney.
I mean,
there's only a handful of those, even less, that are American. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
dark times. We got 100 years hitting now with Disney, so you're getting a lot of knockoff shit coming out, like Pinocchio films and the the horror version of Winnie the Pooh and the horror version of Bambi coming out.
Yeah.
Because they're moving into public domain, and that's going to cause a bunch of headaches for Disney in particular. So I can see it, potentially being just like, if they can get it resolved, they're not going to want to deal with it. And Bob Iger being the final CEO of Disney, in its original form, would probably be something that he wouldn't be completely turned against, So we'll see with that.
I think it's a good thing for Disney to focus on new content.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of the live action remakes that they've done have been great, but definitely not all of them.
They need to unload the vault. I mean, if they're really going to do that, they need to unload the vault. They need to bring out everything, maybe leave Song of the South back in there, but unload everything that people have been pining for, original versions, upgraded versions, what have you. Just unload the vault. No need to keep tucking these things away if you need content for your streaming platform, Make it to where certain movies that people haven't been able to watch in decades get dropped for 2 or 3 month periods, where people would be picking up memberships to watch it and that type of thing. So there's potential there. Moving on here, Harrison Ford is going to be de-aged for Raiders of the Lost Ark or for the new Indiana Jones 5 movie, to be de-aged back to like the Raiders of the Lost Ark era. So we're going to see a young Harrison Ford. Gonna be kind of weird on that one. I'm not sure what he's getting at with all this, because he doesn't seem like the type that would play ball with this, but he might just be like a screw it.
Is it for the whole movie?
No, I think it's going to be like a flashback.
Okay.
They're going to de-age him, kind of like the Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man 3, I think it was.
Yeah.
Something like that. But to have him even play ball with something like that is crazy. And then he's going to play Thunderbolt Ross, and he's going to be Red Hulk, which is crazy because he's 100, So it's just, I don't know where his head's at. I'm going to have to see what his performance is with all these, but that's totally random. Yeah. Black Friday was yesterday when we're recording this, but we still have Cyber Monday, so there's tons and tons of deals that I've been retweeting on our Twitter. Yeah, definitely go check that out. Links in the description. Like tons, video games, TVs, electronics, lightsabers. If you want to post some stuff, we'll put that in Discord or whatever.
Just any of the major lightsaber sellers have some type of discount. There is a website that I'll probably link that just has a list of all of the lightsaber sellers that are actually reputable, that have sales going on. So we'll probably just do that.
So we'll put some links to that. If you do have a little gathered list of different options, that'd be pretty cool. Not sure if we're going to put those in the description, but we will have them in the Discord. If you want to go ahead and over to our Discord, we'll have that link in the description. But yeah, I mean, like I mentioned in the beginning, with all the discounts for the autumn sale for Steam, so you're sitting pretty with that. Bunch of games at Target and Walmart and Best Buy and stuff like that to check out. We got tons retweeted. It was just like a week solid of retweeting deals and stuff. Another news here, official Nintendo Switch Sports is having their free golf update, which is like, oh my god, I need to buy it now. I kind of wanted to do speed running on the original Wii Sports, but I can't find the game for less than $50. But now that they're adding golf to the new one, it's like, oh no.
There's a Nintendo Switch Sports?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got soccer. I think they got tennis.
This is not good. I literally just bought a Switch a little while ago for the esports stuff, because we're going to be doing Smash Brothers and Mario Kart for part of it. That is.
No, Nintendo Switch Sports. I mean, it's in the same headspace as Wii Sports, obviously, but they're adding sports to it too. And this is the golf one, which is one of the more popular ones in the original game. So, if it's cheap too, it's $40. I think $50 if you want to get the leg strap to actually have your controller on your ankle, so you can play soccer and stuff like that. But
who plays soccer?
They're going to be sticking PS5s into Honda electric cars. People complaining about Scarlet and Violet Pokemon, all the massive bugs, which I was able to witness firsthand.
I've
sister-in-law and I guess cousin-in-law was having to suffer through that at Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah, like rendering issues, falling through the world issues, no clipping. Saw a couple actual crashes, which I'm sorry to say is just not a thing on Nintendo products. They typically just work, and that is what it is, you know. And the games are
Yeah.
complete. There's no need to wait. Very few DLC. You buy the game, you get the game, it works, and you're good to go. This is
I mean,
not the
can you
case.
imagine having that happen on such a widespread level as it is now
Hmm.
on a Game Boy game? I mean,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah. There'd be no way of fixing it.
yeah, that's done.
Yeah.
The game is toast at that point. I mean, obviously there were some glitches with the original Pokemon games. You had the missing no thing, which everybody used for their, Master Ball, Rare Candy, whatever you want to have
Hmm.
it. But that was, I mean,
It's
there was other minor things, but
it kind of
nothing
seems like
huge like
laziness
this.
now. You know, it seems like they got a
Yeah,
way out, so they're letting it slip. On
yeah.
in that same note, Nintendo's latest DMCA takedowns are over fan created Steam icons, so their priorities are set at least. Hulu is down to $2 per month on a Black Friday deal that might still be going on. I think it runs until the 28th. So if you want Hulu, there's some stuff on Hulu actually. I do recommend it. James Cameron's been talking a lot of shit. This is another story
Of
on here.
course.
It's like he just won't stop running his mouth now, and it's pissing me off. He's just such a geezer now. Like he's just so like pissed off at the fact that other people are making movies that make money, and then he has to try so hard. Supposedly, I think it was between $350,000 to $400,000 budget for Avatar 2, and he made the comment that it needs to make like $2 billion to break even, which doesn't even make any sense. So he's just like talking out of his ass. He's like being all like, you know, puffy chest, talking about how he kicked an executive out of his office because the guy was begging that the movie be reduced in length. He's talking about back on Titanic that he had to like crack the whip when it came to Leonardo DiCaprio because, you know, he didn't want to do like a reading or something like that. And he said, well, you're going to do it or you're not going to be in the movie. Like he's just bragging, you know, he's being boastful, and it's getting frustrating by this point. And I don't know. I don't, by this point, like just the way he is and the way he's like acting is actually affecting my interest in Avatar at all. And I already don't care about Avatar, so we're veering into like hatred for that franchise for me. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
chill out, just let your movie come out, make a bunch of money, and then I could just be like, whatever, it's a whatever movie. But now it's like, okay, well the creator's a dick, so that's my issue with that.
Yeah, I'm not stoked for
Yeah,
that.
not there's a whole lot of people not stoked for Avatar 2, which is interesting. So we'll see how that goes. And you know, it is what it is. Thanksgiving happened. Hope you had a good one.
Yeah, I
You
did.
celebrating? Hell yeah, the food. What up?
Yeah.
And then swings right back into more Black Friday deals. Insane TVs, like I said, were crazy. I was going to talk a little bit about Black Friday and just how it's not as crazy as it used to be, but I think we'll skip
A
on
lot
it.
of people do online stuff now.
Yeah,
I mean,
and we went to Target yesterday, and the just crowds weren't crazy. The lines were fast. I'm sure it was crazier earlier in the day, but there was like dozens of 55-inch and up TVs, 4K TVs for like $300, 350, 400, 450. You know, for these crazy. I wouldn't say crazy, but super good deals. And you know, we're not talking about the era of people like duking it out for a Blu-ray player anymore. You know.
yeah.
So times are changing. Times are changing. Over 90 films are leaving HBO Max next week. We have the list over
Ooh,
there. That's going to be a big hit.
that
So rip.
yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. And then yeah, it just some retweets of James Gunn being appreciative of the reaction to Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. So that's pretty much it. Anything you want to say before we go?
Oh, I just again wanted to say thank you. I'm going to be on here a lot more sparse moving forward, but
Yeah.
it's always a pleasure to be here. And this was all your idea, and I just hopped on the bandwagon. And I'm just really appreciative of this opportunity. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, we'll like I said, we'll have to get you back in when the scheduling lines up, and we'll have Lucas that fills in, and if I can find another person, we'll just kind of have cycle co-hosts and just make sure that there's a conversation going on rather than just like one person chatting and stuff like that. So don't really want it to be like a news show. I mean, although we drop news, I want it to be more of like kind of like people sitting around bullshitting and stuff like that. So that is the point. You know, and like I said, we got Andor season premiere and that entire season coming up. At the very least, you know, I'd like it to where it's like every 3 episodes we can sit down and talk about the story arcs and all that. You know, you got Mando and you got all these EA games coming out for Star Wars and other companies.
Well,
Respawn's dropping one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, in February, I think we'll be getting. Well, February and March we'll be getting Mando season 3. Then there'll be a lot of other content in Star Wars next year, but it'll all be late in the year. I don't know when they're planning on dropping Andor, if it'll be late next year or if it'll be the year after. But regardless, there's going to be lots of Star Wars content, a heck of a lot of Marvel content. It'll just be good stuff all around.
I would implore that, you know, we get you on the live streams that take place later in the day on Saturdays, whenever more suitable. You know, I mean, like if your esports stuff finishes like at 3 or 4 or whatever, and you chill with your wife until, you know, she goes to bed or what have you, then it still leaves a little bit at night to where you can still hop on the streams and we can play
totally
and all that type of shit too.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
So I mean, we're doing all that, and also you're taking care of back end stuff, so you're on Discord and you're on the website and that type of thing. So you know, Garrett is still a very much regular contributor to the show. It's just the duties of lining up on every Saturday and getting these shows done is not as likely as it was prior. So regardless, I thank you for being here, my friend. And we do have our plug that we always have, and I was telling him that I just don't have access to the original verbiage that I use, so it sounds a little bit different. But
you need to like put it in a Word document or something.
I mean, it's gone now. I had to go and listen to one of the old shows and just try to like, because I never read it the way I wrote it, you know, so I gotta try to re-remember it. But whatever. I just don't have access to that original verbiage. However, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, all that good stuff at Nerd Chatter Show. You can find Nerd Chatter Podcast anywhere you can find podcasts, including Spotify, Audible, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much anywhere else you can find podcasts. We do have the Discord bot set up that you helped set up, that we got our retweets and tweets on Twitter funneling into our news channel on the Discord, as well as you set up the bot for the free game finds to cycle through to our free game section on the Discord. So that's a nice little perk if you want to come join the community and chit chat. And if you find not shows, but like stories and stuff, you can always share that with us and we'll consider them for the show. Also, we got the Patreon, where we do Patreon specific content for anybody that's interested in some extra content. Like we did some reviews and some other type of specific discussions regarding like Star Wars properties and stuff like that and certain directors. So, you know, there's methods there. So yeah, man, appreciate you being here. And I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So yeah, you guys take it easy. Like.